Hi guys, I'm Frank, and in this ArmA 3 related video, I'm going to talk a little bit about performance in ArmA 3 and how it could be shitty in multiplayer and how you can kind of work on improving that on your end. Basically, it's first, this is going to be kind of like a video to help increase awareness on why performance is shitty in multiplayer. Because I go on a lot of servers and the performance is shitty, but I know it's not always on my end. It's not even on the server's end, technically. It's really on the players' end that are in the server already, but I'll get to that. So the first stages to improving your frame rate and performance in ArmA 3's multiplayer, or in single player even, ultimately, is to make sure you have good hardware for your computer. ArmA 3 is pretty much a very hardware intensive fucking game. It takes up a lot of resources, and it's because it's, it has humongous maps, a shit ton of AI usually, or just a lot of a lot of objects to render, textures and all that shit. The AI, when it's rendering a lot of AI, that's also very intensive and well, right now it's extremely resource intensive for fucking AI, as well as particle effects. Anyway, you get the idea. Have good hardware. So if you have a GTX 9, like I have a GTX 970 video card, I have two solid state drives, one, and I would recommend you get that too if you are to improve your frame rate at all. Getting two solid state drives is very important. Have one for your operating system, have the other one for ArmA 3 or games in general, and then you can have like a shitty drive that's for programs and pictures and whatever. Next is like have a very good processor. I have an i7. What kind of processor? And this gets frozen. All right, but yeah, I have an i7 553 something. I don't even remember. Let me see if I could get it. Oh, 58. All right. Yeah, so I have an i7 5820K CPU. It's not overclocked because my the cooler on it is a piece of shit, and I have to buy a new one. So it's not overclocked, but I still get over 50 frames sometimes in multiplayer. So, yeah. Then there's RAM, your memory for ArmA 3. I have 8 gigs of RAM, DDR4 RAM, but it does not. I used to have 12 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and I did not notice a performance increase at all. In fact, I don't know if it got worse or lower. So, yeah. So I don't think ArmA 3 is really optimized for DDR4 yet, so if you do get new RAM, just stick with DDR3 for now, or it doesn't really matter. But, and there's, what else? So that's about it. RAM and, processor, video card, and solid state drives. Those are those things are very important. The rest of the shit, I guess, doesn't really matter. You don't really need a top of the line sound card. I kind of do, but, doesn't really matter though. Anyway, once you've got the hardware settled, then you gotta deal with the fucking mods that you're running. So first thing you want to do, like I said, is I don't know if I said this yet, but when you click on a server in the server browser in ArmA 3, you'll see on the bottom right a little box, and it'll show you the mods that that server is running. If you're running those mods, obviously you're able to get in the server. But if you're running additional mods, what's gonna happen is, and this is gonna happen for every single player that is running mods, is the server will get a lot of RPT errors. And this is the RPT file on my server. And I'm going to show you guys how there's just a spam. Like, look at this shit. Fucking, someone's running Massey's shit, I think. Getting a lot of fucking errors. Getting some calf aggressors errors in here as well. Because, basically, there's a lot of weapon mods that and aggressors stuff that's not on the server. I'm not running that shit on the server. But when people join the server with mods that aren't being run on the server gets these fucking errors, and it gets spammed until the player leaves the server. And it's really fucking annoying because why is this bad? Oh, it's just errors. But what's happening is it's piling on this fucking like 100 megabyte file of errors, and it's just the server's getting spammed over and over with these errors, and it will bog down the frames of not only your frames, but everyone on the server. It first starts with the server. The server's frames gets hit, and gradually it gets worse. And as the server's frames get worse, everyone else's frames start to dwindle down too. It's just how ArmA 3 handles network shit, I guess. But it's basically, it's not really ArmA 3's fault or the server. It's really just the fact that people are running mods that aren't compatible with the server because the server's not running the fucking mods. Does this make sense? I'm hoping I'm making explaining this right. But, so yeah, you get these to avoid getting all this spam is just have the mods that the server is running. That's it. You could have some client-side mods, like I have like a map textures mod that disables map textures when you join the server to make the loading faster. I have like Lee Axeman's immerse and suppression fucking mods. I don't think those cause errors. Shit like that, you know. I think fold map is fine. Stuff like that. I think you guys get the idea. Client-side mods that don't really add shit, they just kind of modify. That's probably a bad example, actually. Something that's not very tangible, like it doesn't add items. So if you have weapon mods, uniform mods, vehicle mods, sound mods, those will create RPT spam, as what this is called. Because you just look at this shit, spams errors all for hours on end, for as long as this fucking player is in the server with the wrong mods. He could come in for just a second and you'll get like a humongous thing of spam. Because if a person is running a lot of mods, that means the server is gonna not recognize those mods that person is running, and it just will cause these errors. So even if it's something that you aren't even using in the server, like for example, let's say Calf Aggress's RPG, I seriously doubt someone went to use the fucking very incapable RPG by Calf Aggressors, because only AI is really able to use it. But just because he has the mod, you know, it just fucking the server's like, oh, I can't find that mod because it's not on the fucking server, so it just creates this error, and it slows everything down. So the server gets spammed, frame rates for everyone gets lowered. So if you join a server and you have all the right mods, let's say even create an instance where everyone on the server is running the correct mods, and everyone in that case, everyone should have very good frames, or you know, it should be very tolerable, very playable, depending on the mission. That's another thing I'll get to, but so everyone's running the right mods, and the server's running fine, and players are getting decent frame rates, or good frame rates even. And then all of a sudden, some asshole comes into the server, and he's running, you know, he's got Massey's weapon mods, this guy's got fucking RH M4s, he's got all kinds of fucking weapon mods, he's got all kinds of uniform mods, he's got RHS, you know, all this shit that adds a lot of items, and a lot of stuff and none of this stuff of which that I'm mentioning is on the server. All of a sudden, gradually from that point until that fucking player leaves, the server's frame rate will go down because it'll just be getting errors from this. And what happens is, because of that, now everyone else, even though they're running the right mods, because of this one fucking asshole who joined the server with the wrong mods, or you know, mods that he shouldn't have on, now everyone gets punished. And it's not really something to blame for ArmA. You can't say, oh, it's ArmA's fault. It's really not, because it's just the modding community, or the players who are using these mods not properly on a server that it shouldn't be on. So if these mods, for example, were on the server, these problems wouldn't even exist. Although there was another thing also where like a lot of there's some mods that are sort of work in progress. I think Calf Aggressors is a good example, or even Ace is a great example. I even seen some errors from Ace in here, and that's a work in progress mod. That just, you know, there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be fleshed out with that mod, and even Aggressors, and you'll see errors from that as well in here. So not all mods are perfect, even if they're released and say, oh, it's finished. Sometimes there's just like little errors that can occur, or there's an inconsistency in the code somewhere in a config or some shit, and it creates an error in the multiplayer RPT error for whatever server it is. But even if it's on the server, it's an error that is embedded in the mod itself. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that could bog down player performance. Oh yeah, missions. This is the last one I'm going to talk about. Sometimes, you know, you have all the right mods, everyone has the right mods, you know, they're all decent mods, whatever, that's fine. If that's all great and everyone has great hardware and shit, you know, perfect scenario, but playing a mission that's, you know, you never played it before maybe, or maybe you have. Like, for example, my Insurgency mission that's on my server actually does have some errors that can cause frame rate loss, which I'm working on right now, by the way, but there is basically the units that are spawned are randomized, and also the unit have a script that randomizes their clothes and gear and shit like that to change their appearance to make them look like civilians, even though they're really independent soldiers. And what happens is, I removed their vests, I think, and then I tried to put ammunition in the vest, and then it's like we can't put ammunition for the M249 in his fucking vest because he doesn't have a vest, and then the game's like I don't know what to do with the extra ammo, and it just kind of lags, so or it gets an error, and I guess it could cause a lag or a stutter, especially when the units are spawning. I can't find it right now. I know it was around here. I cannot, and right here I have no idea what this is. But you can see how this spam as well is bad for performance. Just say spell. This spam is bad for performance. Obviously, I think this is an AI mod or something that I have, or MRB voice stop might be causing this, or Ace. I've never seen this before actually. So yeah, but so yeah. Also, but anyway, last point is the mission that you're running on your server has to be pristine too. So just because it's Wasteland, fucking greatest mission ever made, there's errors in the scripts too that can cause RPT errors and all this shit, and that can bog down performance as well. Even if everyone has the right mods, the mission itself is the last thing that could also fuck over your performance. Especially when stuff is spawning randomized, that there's also a chance for that, or bad garbage collection, stuff like that, but you get the idea. If a mission is faulty, has too much AI, or just is like sloppy the way it's made, then it's just, that can also affect performance. Anyway, I don't want to drag this out too long. I've kind of rambled a little bit, but this is all information that is is very important. I know people are going to say, well, just fucking get on with it, but honestly, fucking pay attention and realize and understand why your frames are dropping. It's not always your fault, but it could be because of someone else, and now you know why. These are the main reasons, the top reasons why performance in multiplayer can suck dick. And now hopefully you have a better idea how you can improve it or how to avoid it. So anyway, hopefully this was somewhat insightful and wasn't too long. I don't even know how long this video was, but anyway, I'll see you next time. 12 minutes, Jesus.